Hey, what's up everybody? Adam with aj Automotive. So on the last video we went ahead and tore an engine out of a boat for a friend of mine. We got into the engine, we thought it looked good. We got it over to the machine shop, had them do some inspections, found out that both heads are cracked. Also the cylinder walls are a little bit too rusty. They tried to go 40 over on it and there's still some pitting. So we're going to get away from that engine and we're going to go ahead and rebuild another engine for it. I went and purchased a long block from a 96 Vortec. Pretty much the same engine. The only difference is there is no manual pump drive for the fuel pump. So we're going to end up having to switch over to electric fuel pump. We'll just get one for like a carbureted system from like Edelbrock or Mallory or something. But this is the engine right here. We got the engine from a junkyard out in Woodland. Pretty much the same transplant. There's a couple differences. We're going to get this one apart. We're going to inspect it the same way that we inspected the other one. Make sure that it's a viable engine. And then if it is viable, then we'll go ahead and start fitting all the pieces from the other engine onto this one and kind of go from there. So stay tuned, watch the teardown, and then I will keep you guys updated. Alright you guys, we got the engine on the engine stand a little bit earlier. I'm going to go ahead and start tearing it down. The first thing I want to do is start pulling the covers. I'll pull the intake manifold off. We'll go ahead and get the water pump off. We're going to go ahead and get the power steering bracket and all the power steering pump and stuff off. Once all that top end stuff is off, before I go into the bottom end, I'm going to quickly just take off the valve covers real quick. That way we can see what the top end looks like. It's going to kind of give me a small idea of what the engine's going to be as far as condition. Once I do that, I'll pull the timing cover, harmonic balancer, check the timing set. We're probably going to throw a new timing set in it anyways. But the reason for the teardown is this is going into a boat. It probably will never be removed again. So we're going to go ahead and do all the head gaskets, the oil pan gasket, timing cover, the rear main seal, the front crankshaft seal, pretty much the whole 9 yards, because we want this motor to stay sealed in the boat for the life of the boat. So once we get it together, the hopes is that we never have to touch it again. So let me get going on it and then just follow along, and I will keep you guys updated if there's anything else you need to know as I'm coming up again. Alright, you guys are kind of at another stopping point. So to get the bracket off, this pulley has to come off the pump. There's a bolt behind here that's holding the bracket in. It looks like they tried to take it off, but they didn't realize it and they couldn't get this off, so they didn't take it off. You know, it's pretty easy. There is a tool you need. It looks like this. Alright. What you do is these two pieces, they separate and they go over the pump. There's a snout groove right here on the front. Put those around it. Slip that big piece on there and it holds them together. This other piece goes inside of it, and as you screw it, it'll pull on that pulley. So go ahead and get it apart. We'll slip the piece in here like that, and you'll notice it won't pull out. That'll go around the snout on the power steering pulley, and then this sleeve will go around the whole thing to hold it together. Just like that. Put that on there, hold it together. Go ahead and bottom out against the shaft. We're going to use a wrench or crescent wrench to hold on to this big nut area. And then we're going to go ahead and tighten up on this, and that'll pull this pulley out, and then we can take the bracket off. With the right tools, the job's easy, really fast. Now I can get to the pump bolts, get the pump out, get to the last bracket bolt, and then this bracket's off. Alright you guys, we're looking pretty good. Engine looks pretty good, pretty clean actually. We're gonna go ahead and pull the heads anyways. That way I can have them vacuum and pressure tested, make sure the valves are seating. Lifters look good. We'll probably just replace them just because we're in here. I'm gonna get the timing cover off, harmonic balancer, check the timing set. This engine probably looks like the timing set's not gonna be stretched, but I'm still gonna replace it. Like I said, this engine's never gonna come out again, so we're gonna go ahead and replace what we can. And then just, you know, at least that way we can sleep at night and we know that we put a sound engine in his boat and we don't gotta worry about it. So I'm gonna take the lifters off, take the push rods out, and I'm gonna get the rocker arms out, and then get the head bolts off, pull the heads out, and then we'll go ahead and rotate the engine over and start on the bottom end. So let me continue on getting the heads off, and then we will go from there. Alright you guys, got the heads off. Cylinder walls look really good. Cylinder heads look really good. This engine here has a slight difference. It's got a balance shaft in the middle. The other one doesn't, so you know that this one is a newer one of the two. We are still going to get the timing set off, like I said. We'll get the oil pan off, and then check the main bearings, check the rod bearings. Most likely, if I just see a minute amount of pitting or scraping of the bearing or any of the babbitt's gone, I'm just going to replace them. So let me get to that point and then we will keep going. Alright everybody, I got the oil pan off, got the engine mounts off. This engine looks great. I'm going to pull some rod caps and stuff, but before I do, I like to mark them so that way I know what position they came out of. I start from the front and I go to the back. And what I usually like to do is I'll use a center punch and I'll mark it. So like this one here, I'll mark it one time. And the mark I put towards the front of the engine on the cap. So that way I know which way the rod goes and I know that the piston's facing forward. The pistons will have a divot on them usually to tell you what position they go to. Sometimes they'll face the front of the engine, sometimes the divot will be facing the intake. It just depends, but this is a fail-safe, so I'll put a 1 mark there, I'll put 2 there, etc. Go ahead and rotate this over. 3. 4. 6. So now I can take them off and I still know where to put them back. Alright, so I don't know, you can come up with your own system. Some people like to use numbers, so they'll buy stamps that have 1, 2, 3, 4. A lot of times they may even stamp here on the sides, so that way they know which way the rod goes as far as the cap and the connecting rod being mated with each other. There are machine caps and rods where you can put them on either way and they will fit, but it doesn't mean it's right. And then they have what's called a crack cast rod, which they cast the rod together as one whole piece. They put it in a machine and it breaks the cap off. So when you go to put those back together, it will only fit one way because the crack marks will line up with each other. So I don't know. Every engine's different, like I said, so just kind of keep track. And this is the way I like to keep track, but everybody's different. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull some rod caps. I'm going to go ahead and pull a couple of the main caps. I'll probably go ahead and pull the oil pump off, and then we'll go ahead and look at all the main bearings and rod bearings, and then that'll give me a really, really good idea of what this motor went through. I think this thing's going to be clean, but like I said, we'll probably end up replacing it all just because. Alright? These bearings don't look half bad. There's a little bit of scratching rotationally. Could be that they weren't changing any oil when they should have been, but there's no major scratches, no pitting. There's not very much Babbitt material missing. Most likely this engine is in really good shape still. The crank looks good. You might be able to go ahead and just put some emery cloth on it and clean it up before we go back together, but I'm pretty sure this thing is going to be good to go. This one, same thing. Looks really, really good. So I'll go ahead and roll this out. I'm checking the back here to see if there's any spin marks. That lets me know if these bearings have been rocking back and forth or if they've spun. There'd be some scratches up in here. This one looks pretty good. And then also, what I like to do is look on the back of the bearing and see if there's any marking. So this one here is a 0.25. I gotta go in the book and check the specs, but being that it's a 0.25, this may have been done before. A lot of times if it's a standard bearing, it'll say STD for standard, but this one has a measurement on it. So now that lets me know to check the rest of them and see if this crank has been cut before. So, you know, that's another thing to look for. These two, and they both look pretty good. I'm gonna check this bearing one more time. Let's see what size this is. This is also a 0.25. So it might have been cut. Hard to say, but I'm gonna go ahead and lay these caps right here. bottom of its stroke, or you could say the top of its stroke, if you were to rotate it over. Right now it's at the bottom for me. And now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get a blunt object, I'm going to hit the back of this, I'm going to push this piston out. Rubber handle, on the hammer works pretty good. It's a little stuck, there's probably a ridge there. This pin feels good. No rocking back and forth, so these pistons can be reused. The rings aren't stuck to the ringland. That's a good sign. Alright, they still turn freely. This motor's in good shape. Alright you guys, I'm getting ready to pull the harmonic balancer off real quick just to show you. This is the tool I use. You can't just pull them off, they're pressed on. A lot of times you can put them in the oven, get them warm, and then it'll help them go on when you reinstall it. And then there's also an installation tool that they have out there. But to get it off, the tool looks like this. You're going to put the 3 bolts in to bolt up where the pulleys go, and then this spins, pushes in on the crank and pulls the harmonic balancer off. Pretty easy fix, pretty easy removal. So if you do start to rebuild one of these engines, just make sure you have one of these because you'll never get it off. Alright? Alright you guys, we got all of the main bearing caps off. We're going to go ahead and start tearing the rest of this thing apart. We got the front timing cover left, and then we got the harmonic balancer left, and then we can go ahead and get this thing over to the machine shop, have them do the same inspection that they did last time. Hopefully this motor is better. It looks a lot better. This engine had glycol in it, so it had antifreeze in it instead of river water. So there's no rust internally. The heads don't look cracked. So I think we got a winner. But that's it for this video, and when I get back to you on the next one, it's going to be going back together and then hopefully back in the boat. So if you guys like these videos, please subscribe, hit the like button, and don't forget the notifications bell. Alright, until then, peace.